In this week's Parasha, Beshalach, Perech Tet Vav Pasuk Bet, after Bnei Israel is finally expelled from Pharaoh, we learn that each and every person was given their own individual prophecy at the Red Sea. So a question comes about. Is this what we strived for? Is this the pinnacle of one's existence? Is this the ultimate meaning of life? Do we think that each prophecy, each and anyone's individual prophecy is what we ultimately strive for? I'd like to give this off to my friend Stephen, and he'll further explain this question.
Well, as Albert said, there's a very interesting question that we can pose here in this week's Parasha Beshalach. That parasha is that question is this individual prophecy, is this the ultimate goal of Judaism? Well, this week's parasha actually gives us a few proofs that we can use to prove otherwise, that this is not necessarily the case, that a different form of spirituality is what we actually strive for. So the pasuk tells us that God was going before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them on the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to illuminate them for them to go by day and by night. And this is pasuk Yud Gimel, excuse me, and Rabbi I screwed it up.
Keep going. We'll cut it.
And Rabbi Shalom Noach Brzezowski, the Slonim Rebbe, gives actually a very interesting take on this. So this pasuk is trying to tell us that about the Amuda Anan and the Amuda Esh, which were always there to protect Bnei Israel, and were given as gifts to Bnei Israel from Hashem to keep us in line and to keep us protected. So the Slonim Rebbe gives a very interesting take on this, which means that when it says that they will be followed by day and by night, this doesn't necessarily mean in the daytime and in the nighttime when the sun's out and when the sun's not out. Rather, this actually means when things are good, bright, by daytime, or when things are not as good and they're darker in the nighttime. So the Slonim Rebbe is trying to say that the Amuda Anan and the Amuda Esh are here to eternally protect us from the dangers of the outside world, such as the Egyptians and the desert and everything that we had to face at that time. That it's not just a question of we had them when we needed them, but we had them at all times. So later in the parasha, Bnei Israel, they're passing through the Red Sea, and they're screaming at Moshe, and they're saying, Moshe, we need some water. We're thirsty, and they complain of thirst, but they don't complain of thirst in a respectable manner. Actually, they actually complain really inappropriately. As the pasuk says, they were thirsty and they complained inappropriately. God's response: give them laws to learn and observe. And he said, if you will surely listen to the voice of Hashem, your God, and you will do what is right in his eyes, and you will hearken to his commandments, and you will guard his statutes, all of the disease which I placed upon Egypt I shall not place upon you, for I am God, your healer. So when Hashem says this, basically he's saying, you can't, Bnei Israel, come to me with these inappropriate complaints and expect me to give you what you want, expect me to give you water and things like this. And there's really one main message that we're supposed to be learning here, which is that what is there to do when things are going bad? There's no reason for us to complain and to act inappropriately, because that's not going to get us what we need. What we're supposed to do is keep going and immerse oneself in performing the commandments. So I'm just going to bring one other proof to prove this, which is that Rashi brings us an analogy to the situation that Bnei Israel are in right now. He brings an analogy of a man is walking out on the street with his son on his shoulders, and his son keeps telling him, go get me this and go get me that, and the man will comply without any problem getting his son what he needs. And they walk for a few hours until finally the son says, hey, have you seen my dad, to a passerby walking by on the street. This demonstrates the son's forgetfulness that of who's actually helping him out, who's getting all these things for him. Just because he's being lifted by his father doesn't mean he can forget his father. And so when he says this, the father puts him down, and immediately afterward, a dog comes and bites the child. So the analogy is meant for Bnei Israel to learn that you can't just be lifted upon one's shoulders and ignore your proximity to God. You have to take advantage of your proximity to God and take advantage of the laws that God has given us. So the greatness we are capable of reaching is not the result of how elevated we can get at the best times, but rather how elevated we can get and how consistent we can be through the bad situations and the good situations. The prophecy attained at the Red Sea was a gift given to the people at the time of the birth of our nation. However, the subsequent lessons which they learned in those critical beginning months of our nationhood and taught us is that true greatness begins and ends with knowledge of Torah and dedication of one's actions to living up to that knowledge, to go by day and to go by night. How's that?